Different calculators work in different ways, but there are some key things that are worth bearing in mind for any calculator. Tip number 1. Work out whether your calculator shows you what you are typing or not. Some calculators have a bar at the top that will show you what you are typing in as you type it, and will then show you the answer separately here when you press the equals. Not all calculators will do this. If your calculator does do this, the layout on the bar at the top is probably going to be very similar to the layout on paper. So if your calculator screen looks the same as what you have written on your paper, you are typing it in correctly, as long as what was on your paper is correct, obviously. The next thing it is worth bearing in mind with calculators is that calculators will generally give you answers in the neatest form possible, and some calculators see the neatest form possible, without wanting to skip ahead too much, as a fraction. If we were to do something like this, say 6.24 times 5.12, just to pick something out at random, we get that 19968 over 625, which doesn't mean anything to any of us. In fact, it's a fraction. We've not gone anywhere near fractions yet, and we won't for a bit. If possible, we'd like to try and avoid it. And really, look at it, it's a mess. We are far more likely to want a decimal answer, because that makes more sense to us. Now, there is one button on here that is particularly useful, and that button is this button. S and D with a double arrow in between. Your calculator may look slightly different, but it's probably something very similar to that. Pressing that button will cycle between the different ways that an answer could be shown. If I press that button, it switches it to the much more useful 31.9488, which granted is still a slightly mucky decimal, but is at least easier for us to understand. So the S to D button is a particularly useful button on your calculator.